It's pretty extraordinary that we, select group of human beings, because of whatever touched us at some point in our lives, are able to sit in a room and come together and actually talk about saving the planet. I mean, it's so almost extraterrestrial.
And that's why I'm saying the general idea of people coming together to discuss the world's problems is sort of interesting. And, you know, we are a world community, whether we like it or not, because the internet has brought us all together in all sorts of crazy ways. But it's the goal of what these people want. You know, the other main thing that they're pushing at the World Economic Forum is they really want us all pushed towards that metaverse. They want us strapped in with those glasses, living in that Ready Player One. If your audience has not seen the movie or read the book, it was a Spielberg movie a couple years ago, but it's a book from the 80s, I think. They want us strapped in that digital world. And in essence, we are just the battery. Our carbon bodies are the battery for the digital world. You should also watch The Matrix.
I was going to say,
This
is literally
There's
The
a
Matrix.
whole bunch of stuff.
Literally, we are
The
just...
Matrix.
Yeah, wow, fair income.
We're all Keanu Reeves now. Are you Neo? Are you Neo? But go to the original Matrix and you can basically figure out what the World Economic Forum's trying to do to us.
Well, yeah, it's quite bizarre.
The World Economic Forum laid out some of those problems in its Global Risk Report. It warns that COVID-19 and the war in Ukraine have thrust the global economy into different times. It says, quote, the resulting new economic era may be one of growing divergence between rich and poor countries and the first rollback of human development in decades.
Just last week, the World Bank warned of a possible global recession. I imagine that will be one of the topics that they'll be talking about.
I think you said it right. It's a creepy event. I mean, these are people that claim to be wanting transparency and openness, but as we discovered this week in our reporting earlier, they hide their own finances, both for the World Economic Forum and for the Klaus Schwab Foundation. It shouldn't be lost on people that this is a group based in Switzerland, which has the most restrictive banking rules, allowing for people, including criminal syndicates, to hide their wealth.
Something outlined in this report is the risk of a polycrisis, which is the word of the moment and the word of Davos. It's essentially multiple global crises happening at once that knock into each other like billiard balls. Is this a new phenomenon?
The difference here is there is an obsession with how everyone else will live their life, while they certainly will not partake in that. These people, I assure you, will not be giving up their gas stoves that their very expensive Michelin star chefs are cooking on. They will not give up their private jets, as you're talking about. They will not give up their Bentleys and their fancy cars as they put us all out of, put all our gas cars out of commission. Everything they do is to control another set of people.
The QR code will be the so-called mark of the beast, marked like livestock and no longer free. The QR code has already become the standard for DNA data storage. We can now scan a specimen's QR code and extract the entire genomic map. And we can create a creature from this data. George Church of Nebula Genomics explains how his company has the ability to read ancient DNA, write, and edit it with CRISPR.
We can read the woolly mammoth genome, which is pretty amazing. Yeah. These things have been extinct for a long time. We can read this ancient DNA, and we can now write it. We can edit the elephant genomes with CRISPR again, and we've done this. We've made 15 edits so far of bringing back extinct DNA.
He said in a 2013 interview with Der Spiegel that DNA can be assembled into an embryo and planted inside of a human woman. Church's Nebula Genomics wants to give people the opportunity to sell their genetic information for digital tokens. And he has Hollywood's Morgan Freeman to help promote and normalize his radical modern-day Frankenstein work. Stamping a human's DNA genome onto their mark is one thing, but in order to store a person's entire life onto a single QR code and have it utilized efficiently across the entire web, they are using the blockchain. Blockchain technology allows information to be stored by a tamper-proof ledger that others on the chain can monitor and validate in real time. and it is being adopted in nearly every major industry. With the help of big pharma and the media, the bankers are corralling everyone inside their rentals, wired up to the Internet of Things, with a QR digital ID that holds their entire DNA genome on the blockchain and managed by artificial intelligence, just as the Rockefeller Foundation announced in their 2020 publication, Mapping an AI Future, and the UK Ministry of Defence in their 2021 publication, Human Augmentation, The Dawn of a New Paradigm. Marked like livestock and no longer free. Unless, of course, we all say no.
Mark Zuckerberg is nothing more than a front man, a behavioral psychologist, mad scientist that have been developing a project for total human control since the 1950s. The internet was designed and was first named the Intergalactic Computer Communications System, and it would be designed to then track and control every move and every action of humans on Earth, monitored by AI computers and camera software systems, as well as different types of microwave relays. They developed the plan in the late 50s. They declassified it in the early 60s. Came out of ARPA that then became DARPA. And when you see the entire project, that's what our phones are, is supercomputers that are handheld that then tie into the larger computer networks. And in their own words, they admit that the plan is to be able to control us in lifetime by giving us stimuli and directives and orders through a social credit score to then basically make us biological androids or robots. But to do that, they've got to get us to start giving up on our human biology. Women don't have babies vaginally half the time. Many women don't give their babies milk. Babies are raised in cribs, lowers their IQs, disconnects them from humans, makes them more sociopathic, more robotic. The entire project's aim is to make life so ugly, so horrible, to put us in environments so disgusting that we reject the third dimension and beg to have a chip put on our brains, a wire plugged into our gray matter VR goggles on our heads. And again, the message is, oh, this world's so ugly and horrible, this is your blanket, this is your pacifier, this is going to comfort you, not your mother, not your father, this artificial bag, this artificial universe we're going to throw over your head. And that's what you do when you capture enemy soldiers and you want to demoralize them. You put a bag over their head for a couple of days, you tie them up, you can find them in small spaces, and then now they've been broken down. They're ready to follow your orders. You're now under their control. This is all tactics that cults use, and the globalist mad scientist cult is the biggest and most powerful of them all, and they want to make human beings a commodity. They want to force us into the metaverse, make us go to court via Zoom, make people go to school via online quote learning, and then, oh, sorry, this class is only VR. We're not going to offer it in Zoom or in FaceTime or in Skype. This is all admitted. And then once you're in the metaverse, you can also be surveilled. You can also be bombarded. You can also be manipulated. And you can also be cut off from the metaverse via the social credit score system. If you don't behave and act the way they want you to, you're literally putting yourself in an artificial environment that they control, and through the optic nerves, plugging your brain into the internet. VR goggles are a plug for your brain. Google glasses are a plug for your brain. All of this takes you into their system and puts a false reality over your eyes so they can begin to bring you out of the third dimension, because the third dimension is the launch point to the wider universe. They want to take you out of God's cathedral and this incredible interface with higher consciousness and the infinite and divine and bring you into a silicon cage, a system they've created. They tell you that carbon is evil. They tell you that all carbon life forms are bad. They tell you they want to cut trees down now to save the earth from carbon, when sunlight, water, carbon dioxide, and oxygen are the four things that create life on this planet. The carbon cycle. They tell us that we're going to be silicon gods. They tell tell us we're going to merge the machines, and then only by giving up our humanity do we transcend. When we're already here at the jump point of transcendence, the third dimension, they are trying to cut us off before we launch, not to other planets, but interdimensional next level. Once we make that transition, interstellar travel will be like something a baby is fascinated with or knows how to do.